Chapter 1. The dinner begins. I still remember the glow of the city lights that night, bouncing off the glass windows of the steakhouse in Midtown Manhattan. The company had chosen one of those expensive restaurants where the booths are leather, the lighting is low, and the servers glide around as if they're on stage. It wasn't just a dinner. It was supposed to be a celebration of a year's worth of work, a reward for long nights, endless meetings, and the sacrifices most of us had made. Sacrifices that, if I'm being honest, had eaten away at more than one relationship. I had flown in from Chicago that morning, tired but hopeful. For weeks, this dinner had been hyped up. Mr. Thompson wants to thank the team in person, Sarah from HR had told us, her voice carrying that practiced enthusiasm that only HR professionals seem to master. I wasn't naive. I knew these events weren't about recognition, not really. They were about appearances, about power, about Mr. Thompson reminding us who sat at the head of the table. The restaurant smelled of charred steak and red wine. The air itself seemed expensive. As I walked in, I spotted my colleagues scattered around the long mahogany table. Sarah was already sipping on a glass of white wine, laughing too loudly at something Mike from finance had said. Jennifer, in a sleek black dress, was adjusting her hair in the reflection of her wine glass. Everyone looked like they were performing, as though the restaurant was less a place to eat and more a stage where every smile was a carefully rehearsed line. Mr. Thompson sat at the head, of course. He was in his mid-50s, tall and broad, with the kind of presence that sucked all the air out of a room. His suit was custom-tailored, his cufflinks gleaming under the low light. He wasn't speaking when I walked in, but even in silence, his posture, the way he leaned back with one hand resting over his glass of scotch, carried a message. This is my table and you're all just lucky to be sitting at it. Hey, you made it, Sarah said as I slid into a chair across from her. Her tone was warm, but her eyes flickered nervously toward Mr. Thompson. She lowered her voice. Be careful tonight. He's in one of his moods. That wasn't unusual. Mr. Thompson had moods the way New York had traffic. Constant, inevitable, and exhausting. Still, there was something heavier in the air that night. A sharp edge, like the clink of glassware just before it shatters. Dinner began with small talk, the kind that feels rehearsed, with everyone trying too hard. Mike bragged about closing a deal that technically had been a team effort. Jennifer dropped names of people she'd supposedly met at a marketing conference. I nodded, smiled, played my part. I had grown used to being invisible at these things. My role was to keep projects on track, to handle the messy details no one else wanted to bother with. The truth was, most of my work never made it into the spotlight. It was like building the foundation of a house and watching everyone else take credit for decorating the walls. The first round of steaks arrived, sizzling on iron skillets, the smell of butter and garlic heavy in the air. The waiter poured glasses of Cabernet without asking. It was that kind of place, the kind where the bill could feed a family for a month. Mr. Thompson raised his glass. To a successful year, he said, his voice carrying that mix of authority and arrogance that only he could deliver. Everyone raised their glasses, some more enthusiastically than others. And to the people who made it happen, he added. His eyes scanned the table, pausing deliberately on Mike, then Jennifer. He didn't even glance in my direction. We clinked glasses, the sound sharp and hollow. I took a sip, letting the wine roll over my tongue, bitter and heavy. It should have felt like a moment of pride, but instead, it felt like standing in the shadows, watching someone else soak up the light. I told myself it didn't matter, that recognition wasn't why I worked the long hours. But deep down it did matter. It mattered because this dinner, this table, was supposed to be about the team, and yet somehow it was already clear who was meant to shine and who was meant to disappear into the background. That was the thing about Mr. Thompson. He didn't just ignore you, he erased you, made you feel smaller than you already did. And I could feel it happening again that night, piece by piece. With every laugh directed at Mike's stories and every approving nod given to Jennifer, I kept my smile fixed. My voice steady, but inside something stirred, something sharp. Something that would only grow stronger as the night went on, because before the night was over, I wasn't going to be invisible anymore.